Imagine walking onto a battlefield, no gunfire, no explosions, just the deafening silence before steel meets flesh. Now picture this, you don't even see the blade. You only feel it, 20 inches of Roman steel sliding straight into your gut, delivered by a soldier who's fought this fight 100 times before. This is not just war. This is Roman warfare, methodical, engineered, perfected. In this episode, we're diving into 10 weapons that didn't just win battles, they built an empire. Some stabbed, some crushed, some ignited the very ground beneath their enemies' feet. And one terrified Rome so much, they redesigned their armor because of it. We'll uncover weapons of raw brutality and brilliant design, from the soldier's trusty gladius to the terrifying siege ballista that could punch through men like paper. But behind every blade is a story of conquest, of fear, of innovation. And by the end of this journey, you might just see how a pile of iron and wood turned a small city into the most feared force in ancient history. Ready to face the arsenal that forged the Roman Empire? Let's begin. In the shadow of Rome's unyielding legions, a weapon was forged not for glory, but for grim necessity. The gladius, short, brutal, and devastating, wasn't designed to dazzle the eye. It was crafted to claim lives, a silent reaper in the hands of disciplined warriors. Measuring a mere 20 inches, its double-edged blade gleamed razor-sharp, a promise of swift and merciless ends. Forget the grand, sweeping arcs of legend. This was no blade for theatrics. The gladius stabbed again and again, plunging into guts, slipping between ribs, seeking the soft, vulnerable spots. For the Roman legionary, efficiency wasn't a luxury. It was the thin line between life and death. Every soldier bore one, a constant companion at their side. Yet the true terror of the gladius lay not in its steel alone, but in the machine of men who wielded it. Imagine them, dozens of legionaries locked shoulder to shoulder in a shield wall, their scuda raised, the gladius poised behind like a coiled viper. At the centurion's cry, they surged as one, a tide of iron driving their blades into flesh again and again, relentless, unyielding. This was the ancient world's tactical knife. Precision and pressure in perfect harmony, designed to pierce armor, cloth, and bone with ruthless economy. In the testudo, the tortoise formation shields overlapped into an impenetrable shell, a moving fortress. From within, the gladius struck with cold, rhythmic precision, a metronome of death amid the chaos of battle. Some blades bore a wasp-waisted curve, a sinister touch of Roman ingenuity. Why? To slide free from a body with ease after a thrust, minimizing resistance, maximizing carnage. Pain was never the aim, death was, delivered quick, controlled, and constant. This was Roman pragmatism honed to a lethal edge. The gladius evolved, adapting to the cries of distant wars. From the Hispaniensis born in Iberian clashes to the mace, stout and broad for close quarters, to the Pompeii, sleek and versatile for Germania's wilds, each variant a tailored instrument of conquest. It won no battles with flash or flare. The gladius triumphed through discipline, through hundreds of blades moving as one, transforming the frenzy of war into a calculated engine of destruction. A single thrust could end a man, but a legion's worth turned fields to rivers of blood. And yet, dear listener, this was but the opening act. For before the gladius tasted flesh, Rome softened its foes with a shadow far more insidious. What could be more terrifying than this blade, you ask? Lean closer and let the tale unfold, dare you hear the rest. Before the clash of steel, before the gladius drank deeply of blood, there was a shadow of ruin cast across the battlefield. Enter the pilum, Rome's deceptively humble herald of havoc. At first glance, a simple tool, a long wooden shaft crowned with an iron tip. But in the iron grip of a legionary, it became a weapon of the mind as much as the body, a silent saboteur cloaked as a spear. Its genius, a whisper of brilliance in the soft metal of its tip. When Rome's soldiers unleashed a volley of pila, they didn't hunger for kills, they craved chaos. Hurling these javelins as battle dawned, the soft iron struck and twisted, bending into enemy shields like a cruel, unyielding claw. The result was pandemonium, a fracturing of courage and order. Picture it, the pilum embeds in your shield. Now, warrior, choose your fate, cast aside your defense, leaving your flesh exposed, or struggle on, burdened by a wobbling, bent spear dragging at your arm. Either path spelled doom. Hesitation gripped you, and in that frozen moment the legion surged forward, a tide of iron and will. Dare to throw it back, a futile dream. The warp tip mocked your efforts, rendering the pilum useless for retaliation. This was no mere weapon. Rome tossed sabotage itself into your ranks. And mark this, every legionary carried not one but two, a double promise of disruption. The pilum shattered more than shields. It broke rhythm, sowed panic, pierced armor, and splintered bones, forcing warriors to abandon formation just as Rome's disciplined machine closed in. It was a prelude of dread, a storm to unmake your resolve before a sword was ever drawn. Through the ages, the pilum grew craftier still. Some bore pyramidal heads, hungry for deeper penetration through wood and flesh. Others wielded slender shanks, honed to bend with wicked precision. Yet its mission never wavered, to cripple the enemy body and spirit before the true battle began. And when the deed was done, when shields littered the earth like fallen leaves, when lines crumbled in disarray, then the gladius awoke, ready to reap the harvest of Rome's cunning. Fairness, a fool's hope. Rome fought with guile, and the pilum was its proof, a silent, sinister stroke of genius. But what came next, brave listener? What followed this dance of disruption? Stay and let the saga of Rome's relentless might unfold before you. No flash of steel, no clang of blades, no whisper of warning. From the shadows of Rome's arsenal emerged the fustibalus, a humble staff sling, unassuming in form, yet a harbinger of unseen terror in the hands of the empire's cunning auxiliaries. At its heart, a simple design, a sturdy stick married to a sling of cord. But wielded by trained hands, it transformed into the tool of ancient snipers, a silent killer stalking the battlefield. With a swift, practiced swing, the fustibalus unleashed lead bullets or smooth stones at a blistering pace, some say exceeding 100 miles per hour. No whistle of arrows, no telltale hiss, just the sudden, bone-shattering impact. These weren't mere pebbles plucked from the earth. Rome's craftsmen shaped them, almond-like for flight, some etched with taunts or curses, a final insult carved into the very missile that cracked your helmet or felled your comrade. Imagine the chill of reading mockery on the instrument of your ruin, yet the fustibalus wielded a deadlier edge than speed alone. Its range stretched far, a specter of death loosed from the rear of the legion's ranks. The slingers stood safely distant, raining destruction, while the front lines braced for battle. They softened the enemy, sowing chaos, fear, and broken resolve, before a single sword gleamed in the sun. A lone strike could topple a rider from his steed, a stone to the skull spelling instant ruin. Bones cracked, shields dented, and soldiers faltered, panic rippling through ranks, all from a weapon of wood, string, and stone. Simple, lethal. Unseen, and its genius deepened still, cheap to craft, easy to mass-produce, a master of disguise. The fustibalus thrived in ambush, its bearers appearing unarmed, mere travelers, until the sky darkened with a hail of stone. Unlike the bow, a sling coiled neatly, tucked into a tunic, ready to strike in a heartbeat. Rome knew victory wasn't always forged in brute force. Sometimes the quietest weapon roared loudest. The fustibalus was fear incarnate, a storm you never saw brewing. But what if the enemy closed in, their eyes blazing, their charge unstoppable? What then, brave listener, did Rome unleash to tame the tide of battle? Linger here and let the tale of the empire's relentless cunning sweep you away. Long before the gladius carved its bloody legend into the annals of history, another weapon held sway over the fields of war. Enter the hasta, a towering spear 6 to 7 feet of unyielding might, its leaf-tipped head a quiet promise of dominion. This was no tool of flash or flourish. It was the steadfast backbone of early Rome in warfare, a silent guardian of order amid the storm. Unlike the intimate, lethal dance of the gladius, the hasta was a strategist's blade. In the steady grip of a Roman soldier, it forged a zone of death, an invisible wall between warrior and foe. Picture a line of spearmen, shoulders squared, points leveled, a bristling hedge of iron. With the hasta, a single rank could repel waves, holding cavalry at bay, skewering footmen where they stood, all without yielding an inch of sacred ground. Its brilliance glowed in its purity, one purpose, one motion: thrust. Then thrust again. No need for a titan's strength, no call for wild fury. Composure was king. In the ranks of the hastati and triarii, the spear moved with the precision of a sundial's shadow, inching forward, bleeding the enemy dry before a sword could even gleam in the fray. The hasta's tip, a marvel of intent, took two forms: broad and leaf-shaped for sweeping wounds, or tapered, a needle to pierce armor, cloth, and flesh with ease. Death wasn't always the aim, a gash sufficed, a breach in the line, a flicker of panic. From there, Rome's iron discipline took hold, turning chaos to conquest. Even as the gladius rose to glory in later days, the hasta endured, a quiet sentinel. It stood proud in ceremonial guards, bolstered auxiliary ranks, and lingered in Rome's soul, a testament to a legacy not of frenzy but of formation. For in the Roman mind, the battlefield was a canvas of control, and the hasta drew its first, unwavering line. Yet, brave listener, what fate loomed when that order faltered? When formations buckled, shields scattered to the dust. Lean closer and let the saga of Rome's relentless will unravel. Dare you follow this tale to its thunderous end? When the shield lies shattered, the gladius torn from your grasp, and the enemy's breath burns hot against your neck, then from the chaos the pugio emerges. Small, sharp, unforgiving, a legionary's final bastion, the last whisper of defiance in a world gone mad. Strapped to the waist, this 8 to 11-inch dagger waited, ever ready, drawn in the blink of an eye. No tool of honor, no blade for grand duels, the pugio was forged for one purpose: survival. In the desperate crush of close combat, where swords grew clumsy, where mud and blood bound warrior to foe, it did its grim dance. Slipping beneath ribs, piercing bellies, threading through armor's gaps, it struck, quick, silent, final. Yet the pugio guarded more than the battlefield. Roman soldiers bore it against darker foes, betrayal's sting. Julius Caesar himself fell not to the gladius's edge, but to a storm of pugiones, their punctures weaving a tale of loyalty's collapse. This dagger transcended steel, becoming a symbol of trust, of treachery, of the fragile threads that bind an empire. Unlike its brethren, the pugio was deeply personal. Some bore double edges, slicing both ways, others wielded reinforced tips, hungry to punch through mail. Legionaries shaped their daggers as we craft our modern tools, tweaking size, grip, and form to mirror their spirit, a bespoke companion in the fray. It was a blade of shadows, too. In ambushes, assassinations, or swift executions, the pugio spoke no warning. No clash, no cry, just a body crumpling to the earth, its work done in eerie silence. Glory, that was not its realm. It claimed no sweeping victories, no songs of valor. The pugio ended battles quietly, brutally, without a whisper of fanfare. When the dust settled and lines lay broken, it wasn't the mightiest blade that reigned, but the one still clutched in a trembling hand. And if that slender edge faltered, dear listener, what then when finesse faded in the fire of war? Brace yourself, for Rome reached for a force that smashed rather than sliced. Lean in and let this tale of relentless will seize your soul. Dare you hear its savage end? No blade to gleam, no edge to whisper, just raw, unyielding force. The mace cared not for finesse, born not to pierce or slash, but to break. It was Rome's unrelenting fist in the chaos of war. A heavy head of metal or stone, fused to a sturdy wooden shaft, the Roman mace wasn't standard fare for the legion. But when it emerged from the shadows, the air grew thick with dread. Things were about to turn savage. This was the tool for grim necessity. Riot control in seething streets, siege warfare's brutal breaches, or clashes where armor demanded not cunning but crushing. Forget seeking gaps. The mace struck the plate itself, letting the bones beneath shatter in surrender. One swing could splinter a forearm, cave a ribcage, or dent a helmet so deeply its wearer lay still, forever silenced. Here was power distilled to its most primal, brutal essence. Roman soldiers rarely bore maces into the open fray, reserving them as secondary arms or for dire tasks, smashing through defenses, quelling unruly crowds, or facing foes clad in iron too thick for subtler blades. Yet its might went beyond mere damage. It was a specter of the mind. To see a man crumple, armor and all, beneath a single blow screamed a truth: no gear could shield you from Rome's wrath. Some maces bore flanges or knobs, cruel raised edges that channeled force into pinpoint devastation. More fractures, more fear, a storm of ruin in every strike. Alone, it didn't claim wars, but it ended fights, swift, decisive, merciless. Crude and unforgiving, the mace demanded what other Roman arms spared: raw nerve. To wield it, you closed the gap, stood toe-to-toe, and stared into the eyes of doom. A weapon not just of muscle, but of heart, it thrived in the heat of the closest quarters. And when fear alone fell short, brave listener, what did Rome grasp when the goal was not to slay, but to bind, to punish, to scar? Step closer and let this tale of the empire's ruthless grip seize your soul. Dare you unravel its next dark chapter? It claimed no battlefields, seized no lands, yet bound an empire tight, one searing lash at a time. The scourge was no mere whip, but a cruel artisan of control. Its leather cords tipped with jagged fragments, metal, bone, iron hooks, crafted not to slice but to tear, rending flesh and will alike. Roman soldiers trembled at its shadow, slaves cowered in its presence, criminals knew its bite. For the scourge sought not death but domination, a merciless enforcer of Rome's unyielding order. Each crack split skin, each pull clawed deeper, a symphony of torment. A few strikes left a man writhing in agony, a full lashing shattered him, body broken, spirit humbled. In the legions, discipline reigned supreme. Disobedience, cowardice, or desertion summoned the scourge before any judge's gavel fell. Public floggings became theater, a grim spectacle under the empire's watchful gaze, proclaiming to all, Rome brooks no weakness. For the condemned, the scourge was a brutal overture to execution. By the final blow, blood loss, shock, and pain had already dragged them to death's edge, a prelude to their end. Yet its reach stretched further, across training camps, prisons, bustling markets, even courtrooms. The scourge was portable fear, a coiled reminder that power wore forms beyond the sword's keen edge. Rome rose on the pillars of control, and not all control demanded blood. Sometimes it etched scars, permanent, public, searing, marks of submission carved into flesh for all to witness. The scourge branded bodies, a testament to the empire's iron grip. But what, dear listener, followed this reign of terror? What weapon left wounds not just on the skin, but etched into memory? A blade so fearsome it bent Rome's very way of war. Linger here and let this saga of relentless power ensnare your soul. Dare you face its next chilling chapter? It bore no Roman mark, yet it sent shivers through the legion's iron ranks. Born of the Dacians, fierce mountain warriors from the rugged lands we now call Romania, the falx was no mere weapon. It was a storm of mutilation, a harbinger of dread that humbled even Rome's might. Long and wickedly curved, its blade sharpened on the inner edge, the falx loomed like an oversized sickle, a reaper's tool turned to war. Wielded with both hands, it unleashed fury, splitting shields. Not every Roman weapon glowed from the forge's fire. Some snarled from kennels, squealed from barns, or slithered from the darkest recesses of human cunning. The empire knew a truth as old as war itself. Fear could rival steel and often outstrip it. First came the war dogs, no gentle companions these. Bred for mayhem, trained to unleash hell, they burst forth not on orders but on raw instinct. Fangs tore at limbs, jaws dragged warriors to the dust, and their fury shattered formations, snarling agents of chaos amid the clash of shields. Then a spectacle to stun the mind, flaming pigs. Drenched in pitch, ignited and loosed upon the foe, these blazing beasts charged, shrieking at full tilt. Absurd, perhaps, until you envision it. A wall of fire and squeals, scattering horses, scattering soldiers as flames devoured all resolve. And fire wasn't even required. Rome learned the mere squeal of pigs could unhinge war elephants, sending thousand-pound titans into a frenzied stampede, crushing their own ranks before a sword was drawn. Rome weaponized chaos itself. Tar-soaked logs rolled downhill, ablaze and unstoppable. Pots of burning oil arced through the sky, and siege engines roared with flame, each a gambit to unravel the enemy's grip on reality. Kills mattered less than the moment of doubt, the flicker of disbelief that broke nerve and rank. And in that heartbeat, the gladius struck, reaping the harvest of disorder. Even Rome's arenas played this ruthless game. Lions, leopards, bears unleashed not for combat, but for spectacle, a roaring testament that nature itself knelt to Roman might. Death became theater, a chilling display that power could twist even the wildest forces to its will. The empire rose not on blades alone, but on warnings, vivid, visceral, unyielding. Yet when those warnings fell on defiant ears, when cities dared to stand firm, what then? What colossal force did Rome summon, a mechanical titan to dwarf all before it? Lean closer, brave listener, and let this saga of chaos and conquest grip your soul. Dare you face the empire's next earth-shaking chapter? It swung no blade, thrust no point. Instead, it struck like the finger of a god, silent, sudden, and cataclysmic. The ballista, Rome's answer to the tyranny of distance, was more than a siege engine, more than a war machine. It was a proclamation of power, a herald of the empire's unrelenting will. Picture a colossal crossbow, its might born not of mortal muscle, but of twisted ropes and mechanical fury. Its bolts, no mere arrows, but iron shafts, fence posts in truth, long as a man's arm, launched with force to rend armor, splinter shields, and plow onward unstopped. The ballista didn't target one soul. It pierced through him, claiming the two beyond in a single, ruthless stroke. Poised behind the lines, it reigned as mobile artillery, a harbinger of doom. It sniped commanders, shattered cavalry charges, and banished any dream of safety in distance. Its nimble kin, the Scorpio, danced the same deadly tune, perched on walls, towers, and ships, unleashing rapid, precise volleys of death with chilling efficiency. Yet the ballista's true might lay not in destruction alone, but in dread. The creak of its ropes, tautening under strain, sent shivers through enemy ranks, a sound to make hearts falter. Then came the bolt, snapping forth too swift to dodge. Duck or die, no other choice remained. In sieges, it smashed gates to kindling, cleared walls of defenders, and reduced strongholds to splinters before the legion's boots touched ground. In open fields, it struck with surgical intent, forcing foes to shift, to flinch, to lose their rhythm in the face of its relentless reach. Unlike archers, ballistae knew no fatigue, no trembling nerves, no hesitation, machines of iron will, as steadfast as Rome itself. From Gaul's misty hills to Judea's sun-scorched sands, they marched in every grand campaign, not for thrift, but for triumph. They delivered not mere ruin, but domination, a testament to the empire's unyielding grip. The gladius ended battles, the ballista ensured they never began. And so, united with slings, spears, daggers, fire, and fear, they wove a tapestry of conquest,